Hello everyone, welcome to our kayak fishing webinar. Today's topic is choosing the right kayak and some boater safety and some other regulations you need to know about. So if you at any point have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Myself or the facilitator will try to get those questions asked to our guest speakers and get those answered for you. So yeah, let's get this show on the road. If Chris and Callie from Canoe Kentucky will turn their camera on, they're going to go over types of boats and features that you might need or not think about when you're choosing your first fishing kayak. Now, these guys, they work, live, and breathe this stuff, so they can answer any question you have. So, guys, take it away. Okay, whenever you guys are ready. You're muted, so. Hey, Callie, you guys are muted. Uh-oh, having some service issues. There we go. Technical difficulties.
Technical issues. Sorry about that.
Take it away, guys.
I'll start from the beginning. Thank you all for, I want to thank the Department of Fish and Wildlife for hosting this. Safety in this sport, we're glad you all promote it. Safety, in all outdoors, but the safety in the kayaking world. Thank you all very much, and we're happy to partner with you all on this. I'll introduce myself and Callie here. We're from Canoe, Kentucky. Proud that this is our 40th year in business, so we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So thank you all for 40 years, and we hope to meet each and every one of you at some point. I'd like to say that we are very welcoming of everyone of all skill levels. So we hope that anyone from someone who never sat in a kayak to your most advanced kayak fisherman takes something away from today. So we're hoping that we can sit here and give some information, answer some questions that maybe you didn't even think you know the answers to. So I'll start off, and then me and Callie will kind of go back and forth and share some information. But the first thing we always get when someone walks in our door looking to get into kayaking in general, but into kayak fishing, is what makes a fishing kayak a fishing kayak, or what makes it a fishing boat. And in all reality, the answer to that is, as soon as you take a fishing pole, it becomes a fishing kayak. Right? It just depends on what type of vessel you want, what accessories you want, what type of fish you want. So we'll answer that today. We're going to walk through some of those different types of fishing kayaks. But it's pretty simple. A fishing kayak can be something very basic that you added some things to help make it a little bit easier to fish out of. Or like I said, it could just be you taking out a fishing pole and getting on the water. At that point, it's a fishing kayak. That's including canoes and stand-up paddleboards and all those things. So I'm going to kind of sit back, and I'll kind of be the model here for a little bit, point some things out. But I'm going to hand it off to Callie to talk a little bit about different types of fishing kayaks that we recommend. Callie?
Yeah, so, what options there are out there. You mentioned what his focus is fishing kayaks, and kayaks in particular. Canoes and stand-up paddleboards are definitely a very popular option as well. When it comes to fishing kayaks, you have a wide range of options as far as kind of your basic paddling style, so using a kayak paddle. Pedal-driven options as well, so using your feet, kind of like a bicycle. And then as well as adding motors. We're seeing a big increase of folks adding propulsion or power to their kayaks, especially the larger they get. It can almost seem overwhelming when you're looking at all the options kayaks out there. And that's what we're going to help you with. There's so many phenomenal resources and professionals out there. YouTube, Fish and Wildlife. We show folks your all's website all the time about where can I get these rules and information. What are the laws when it comes to what I can and can't add on my kayak. Making sure you're set up for success going out for your first trip. So when it comes to adding a motor to a kayak or power propulsion, you do have to register those with the state. So that's required to do so. We can talk through those options if anyone has questions about that as well. It can be as simple, like I said, as just a sit-in style kayak. Like the style here. So that's a sit inside option. One up here on the stand behind me, that's a sit on top style kayak. You do see other options here in our store from Whitewater, Barbette, as well as some other sit on top and canoe options up top here. But that's kind of the big difference. When you sit down in to the water, or sit on top style. So when it comes to those different types, questions you always get and things I want you to consider when making that decision of your kayak. Start with a budget. Have a budget that can be flexible in both directions. Because as you get into this, maybe start your checklist of items you think you need or may actually need. That can change throughout the process of buying and researching, reading reviews, and that's what we're here to help you decide and figure out. Not only do you need to start with a budget of finding your kayak, how are you going to store it? How are you going to haul it? What types of waterways are you going to be on? Those are things we're going to cover in some questions as we get on the way. Have those in the back of your head as far as things to have on your checklist.
So I will say, if you have any questions while speaking, feel free to type it over in the chat box if it's operational, type it in and forward it over to us, and we will happily answer those. But we're just going to kind of walk through a few things. So another question we get besides, what makes it a fishing kayak, what types are there, is what length of kayak, length of a boat, right? So that goes back to the question that Callie raised, is what type of water you want on. So are you going to spend most of your time on a body of water like the Kentucky River or a lake, a bigger body of water with little to no current? Or are you going to be in something like Elkhorn Creek, in Frankfurt that is slow or fast moving water with a little bit of current? So you've got to think about those things. So a good rule of thumb is the longer the boat, the better track. So what track means is how straight it goes. So you might get a little bit more seat out of a longer boat. So it'll go a little bit straighter. When you're paddling and you stop, it should stay on that line for a little bit longer. So tracking is important, but if you've got a 14-foot boat and I'm on a body that's constantly moving, I may be losing maneuverability. So in reality, a 10-foot boat, 11-foot boat is going to turn a little bit better than a 14-foot. So you need to think about that waterway you're on. If you want a good mix, if you're going to kind of travel around, on different amounts of water, try to switch it 10 to 12 feet. And we're right in there. Once you get beyond 12 feet, you're losing maneuverability or gaining a little bit of speed. Below 10 feet, you're losing that ability to keep straight. To be honest with you, you're paddle straight as soon as you stop. That's once per. So a good rule of thumb at 10 to 12. And so in general, that's what you're thinking about is the tracking ability and maneuverability, kind of mesh it together. What exactly you're talking about. So moving on from that, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so not only is length of kayak very important, but width. So weight capacity varies across the board on kayaks that you're looking at. So a kayak that may be upwards of 36 or so, 38 inches wide, not going to be the best option for shallow water streams. It can be great for hauling capacities of up to almost 500 pounds, whether you're wanting to hunt and fish, whether you're wanting to add a motor to the kayak to be able to haul all of the gear and equipment. So think about that as well. What accessories are you adding on there? Where does that leave you with the width of the kayak that you're looking at? While width does add stability to your kayak. A raised seat or a sit on top kayak, ultimately that changes your center of gravity. The higher you are above water and skinnier kayak, you may feel a bit tippy. So hold on facts, we could get into the nitty gritty of it all. And that's what we're here for. We want to come in and look at some options. We can really point those out and show that to you. But the width of the kayak ultimately then leads us into talking about paddles. Because when it comes to your paddle for your kayak, it's not only taking into account your height, but whether you are a sit inside option, a sit on top, how high that seat sit. Having a really short paddle in a high seated kayak, not going to be a whole lot good one to paddle. So this is grabbing a couple options over here to our side. Paddles can range from good, better, best weight options, durability, and what you're looking for as well. A good paddle, don't forget your paddle. That's a common mistake we hear all the time. Is you get so excited to go out on the water, you have all your gear and all your equipment, and forgot the paddle back at home. That is ultimately whether you have or are using a paddle-driven kayak or a motor. A paddle is ultimately something you want with you at all times. That is your source of motion for your kayak. I'll let him talk about different options. There are some features of a paddle that you want to look for. What can be a difference of weight when paddling?
Yeah, so you do want to think about the material that the paddle made. Weight is a huge factor. Whenever it comes down to thinking about being on water for several hours, the heavier the paddle, even by a couple of ounces, it starts to affect your shoulders, start to fatigue a little bit. So you need to think about the material. Base starting out paddle, something that's good, is a polypropylene paddle. It's just a nylon blade. Okay, so nylon blade, and this is actually a fiberglass shaft, so it's really light. But the blade itself, pretty thick. It does have a little bend in it, so I'm not sure if you can see that. That does bend, and what that does is when you hit the water, that paddle blade, it actually flutters a bit, so you lose efficiency. It is a great starting paddle. The weight is a little heavy compared to most other paddles, but it's a great starting paddle. It's pretty durable. One step up from that, we have fiberglass paddle. Okay.
Looks like there may be some kind of a motor sound in the background. I don't know if it's the wild and crazy cicadas out here, but I haven't heard anything in our background. So we're going to keep going. I'll try to speak a little louder if needed so y'all can hear us.
Absolutely. Step up from a nylon blade and fiberglass. Okay. You can see that it's a lot more rigid. Okay. And that takes away that flutter in the water, makes it more efficient. Okay. The carbon fiber shaft makes it lighter than the fiberglass shaft on the other blade, on the paddle. So it's going to be a lot easier on your shoulders. All right. A step beyond that would be a full carbon fiber blade. So a full-on blade made of carbon fiber takes the weight down significantly, and then it just becomes a little bit more comfortable with paddle. So again, a paddle is something you need to think about when you're talking about paddle. Okay. So thinking about not only how much are you willing to spend on a kayak, you got to add in the blades, or the paddles, you got to add in on top of that life jacket. Okay. Thinking about storage, they're one 2-piece paddle most likely, because that 2-piece paddle might fit inside your kayak, it would fit inside the car if you have a small car. So thinking about that as well. I want to show you real quickly the difference in blade shape, and then Callie's going to talk a little bit about supplements. All right. So blade shape, you can see a little bit of difference here. Not a lot. But this one right here in my right hand is a little bit thicker as far as width, a little bit shorter versus this one on the left. Okay. What that comes down to is that here you can see a more drastic look. All right. What that comes down to is that's paddling style. So this is what's called a high blade, a little bit thicker, a little bit shorter, and that's for those. That's for those who dig in. It's also here, digging in a little bit more aggressive paddler, or you may be sitting a little closer to water, versus someone who may be sitting up higher. Okay, with this blade here, they are not quite as aggressive. So there is a difference in blade shape, and it does make a difference to the paddle as well. So those are things to know. It's paddle affects what blade shape you need.
One example of a pedal drive option can go onto a kayak. Most, if not all, of the pedal-driven kayaks, it's removable. So for folks that like to go on shallow moving water streams, where you really aren't going to get to use your pedal often, you need a lot of space for your propeller to be able to move the kayak. So again, you do have those options. When you get into pedal kayaks, while there are many options that are fairly lightweight, most that are fishing style kayak for our areas of Kentucky that we're in are pretty heavy. You get into and weight. It's on that checklist. What is that weight range you're wanting to look at? Another example, just kind of a different setup and style. This would sit on the kayak like so. My feet would then move the pedals, and you can see the prop moving as best choice for moving water versus non-moving, so deeper kind of water. Kayaks we've talked about as far as length, big lakes, long trips, get someone that's got a good length. Moving water, shallow streams, you can be great at the shorter end of a kayak, one that has a lot of maneuverability. Stay away from that really wide, big, heavy styles for the shallow type waters. Next question you always get is for folks that are heavier paddlers and either height or weight as well. Checking that capacity of the kayak, what can it hold? Getting in them, try it. We love to offer folks to be able to try before you buy. Not only here, but anywhere you may be researching. If you have a friend, if you have a connection somewhere, join a group, join a Kentucky Kayakers group. We work closely with Fish and Wildlife to offer Kayak Fishing 101 in years past. That was a phenomenal opportunity for folks to get out and try many different options. You don't know what you're looking for until you get in it. Ask to get a kayak down that we have here in store. Sit in it. Is it comfortable for you? Do you think it's going to be the kind of weight range you're looking for as well?
I think while we're in that, this might be a good time for us to show some different features on kayaks. So I can move this chair out of the way. I'm going to point to something how and kind of explain what's sent before. Hopefully we can enlighten you on maybe a journey on what you're looking for and what might work. So. Looks like that's pretty well in view there. So how we're going to be showing someone a fishing kayak the first time. A few things we want to be concerned about or think about. I'll speak to you. Think about is, first of all, you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable in a boat, I don't care how much you fish, you're going to make sure that so notice inside the boat, see right here, that frame seat. Okay. You see this thing? Okay. Very important. Like circumference sort. Notice right here it's raised up a little bit, so that gives a little bit to your knees. So you actually less the more comfortable you are, the longer you are in kayak. They look for you're going out, especially fishing kayak, because you don't want to be comfortable because a lot of fishermen spend a lot of the day up there. So the front seat is the first thing I'm going to point out on a boat. Actually, would go back and talk about what type of places you want to go. So what type of water. You can see this boat down on the ground. This is from modified kayaks. This is the EX1.3. Not a foot long boat. So it's right now it's 10, 12, so you do a little everything. Things to notice on this, besides the back a little bit, right here, you can see that I've got a really nice handle right. It's really easy for me to pick up transport. I have another person on the other end that really just carry. But it's rigid, it's sturdy, pretty easy. So we're not going to transport it much more. Think about how I'm going to move this. Okay? Think about how I'm going to move it, get to and from the water. That's important. Work here, like towards the back. No, you might go see this visual right here. All right, there's ruffle this. So pointing around either side. All right. That helps carry your fishing rod. Always add more to it. You put on some one. Your spot access or fishing pole. And there's some storage back here. There's storage back here. Inside, maybe a tackle box, maybe it's whatever reason you need that storage break that line. Not sure how clearly you can see this boat behind me. This is just an example. Okay, this is a Jackson 260. It's got spots right here. I know you can see this. I can see on the screen there. This is actually a rod tip protector. So this fishing pole right here, I'm going to brush or whatever. I can put it down there and strap it to my boat. This is on anything that keeps on line tangled. And then working your way back, you think about some different things on there. This boat is designed to stand up in, so it's a little bit wider. It does have a spot where it stands to strap. So a lot of fishermen like this style boat. There's specific boats out there. Thinking about that too, I feel like I don't want to say need to be down, closer to the water. So those are things to think about. There's the box, and some of the boats down there, there's lots of batteries in here. Fish ponders, there's holes in it, you can see it there. That's for training fish. So it's got holes. And then there's a lot of storage back here in the back. But again, more tackle or pool or whatever. And then we can talk about the pedal drive a little bit, how I can show that. Pedal drive over here on my right. It's very similar. So that's a real quick down and dirty. We just talk about the features, what we want to do with it. And then, again, like Alex said, getting back in the boat, sit down in it, imagine yourself fishing, and do what works for you. You can even, suggest sitting on the water and trying it out. That's some real basic stuff. I want to talk a little bit about the transport.
Yeah, big hang up for most folks is how am I going to get to the water? How am I going to load and store my kayak? We have that selections here in the store. So basic kind of style. These are foam block kits. Does come with cam straps. I'll talk about straps in a moment. This will rest on top of your vehicle. You can see some options and features there. While this is great for your local waterway isn't a short amount of distance from you, these are not very good for highway transport, travel, long distance style trips. Ultimately, these are not just, they're just not super secure to your vehicle. They'll get you where you need to go real quick. Not going to be the most beneficial for big, heavy fishing kayak. So keep that in mind. Great for some smaller wreck style options. There are load assist mechanisms to help you get a kayak on top of your vehicle. So this is a suction cup style that would attach to, say, the back window, back hatch of the car, and then this allows you to roll your kayak up on top of your car. So some great assist options for those heavier styles, or maybe like me, you might not be as tall to be able to lift it up on top of your vehicle, having a step stool, and again, something to help you ease that on up in there, so you've got plenty of room and space to damage your vehicle. Getting to and from the water, you can see a kayak cart here we have on display on the back. Many different options that will attach to your kayak. You want these positioned just about under the seat, if not back behind it a little bit, just how we have that one positioned on the ground there. These straps will then wrap around over the top of your kayak or canoe or set paddleboard to help you getting to and from the boat ramp, to and from the launch site, to and from the car, into your garage. Once you make your way into your garage, barn, shed, storage area, you see a lot of kayaks behind us on stands. This is a hoist, a ceiling hoist system or mechanism. My goodness, do these make a world of difference? So you can only pull your car on into your garage, your barn, your shed, and allow it to lift directly off of that and back on the top of your car when you're ready for your trip. Look at the weight ratings on these things. Not only when you're setting up in your house can your garage handle the weight, but check the weight rating for each. There's many different options as far as up to about 120 pounds or so options as well. Straps are extremely important when transporting your car. Red straps are very common. The best option is a cam strap style. So this is a cam buckle, so not a ratchet strap. You can get fine with ratchet straps because you can almost over tighten or damage your kayak by tightening down too much, whether that be on your trailer or on your car. So in a cam strap, come in multiple different lengths and options for you there. We definitely recommend these. Much easier to work with than a ratchet strap. When hauling your boat, it's good practice to have bow and stern tie downs. The bow is the front of your kayak, stern is the back of your kayak. When on top of a vehicle, those tie downs allow your boat to be braking or accelerating not to slide forward or backward. For vehicles that are car topping and may not have a hook point, there's an item called a quick leash, quick lash, that's under the hood of your car. It's another option, so you aren't damaging plastic under your car. Think about how you're hauling it. Super important. Security of your kayak while either on your car, in the bed of your truck, using a truck extender on your trailer. Security is extremely important as well. So getting a lock, whether you're stashing down at a public access point to get on the water, that way nobody steals it. Don't leave your boats and your equipment out visible overnight on your vehicles. You're spending money and time and investment not only on fishing gear and equipment, but your paddling gear and equipment. Do what you can to take care of that, secure it. You want to keep it around. When it comes to security of your kayaks and your items, put your name on your stuff. Get a sticker. Put your name in your boat, your phone number, your serial numbers. They're all on that checklist. Make sure you're following to do the best you can to keep your gear around for as long as you possibly can. Are there any questions about how to haul or store kayaks? I mentioned truck bed extenders. I also mentioned carrying on the roof of a car. I mentioned carrying it in bed of a pickup truck. So all very common options along with trailers. We use a lot of trailers being built, and that ultimately does help with storage not only, but also for transport. I don't believe there's questions on that. So we'll move to securing your items. It is never a fun time when we see folks come back from their trip especially off the creek in a moving water stream. Trees hanging over the edges, rocks out there, and they lost their whole brand new set of rods and reels that they just got together, lost their tackle box. Don't you have a bummer of a day? Get some items, secure your items. There's these attached to your fishing pole or your rod. Carabiners, go wild, go crazy, attach those things to your kayaks. Make sure they're not in your foot space or in your way. So if you do have to stand up and maneuver, you're not going to get caught. Same thing applies to your smartphones and your devices you may be having out there with you, your radios. Get something that can, while this is not waterproof and this does not float, this phone tether is around your phone. Now you just like this, have a coiled reaching point for any photos you're wanting to take of your big catch for the day. That way it's easily accessible, still attached to you, and hopefully not going to find itself in the drink out there.
Yeah, so just a quick reminder, there are professionals out there, I'll say professionals, there's paddle sports people out there that are always happy to help, including us. So if you just have questions and you just really don't know where to start, we love to talk to you. Have you come out here, we'll have a conversation with you, we'll kind of talk you through some different styles, maybe what you're looking for, and kind of guide you in the right direction, at least to the best of our ability. We offer a service on our website. It's free of charge. Fitful. You can go on there and answer a few simple questions, and someone will get back with you and say, "This is what we think might fit your needs." We're here to help and educate. Just the same as Fishing Wild is here to educate. We're to educate. We want more people, not only in the sport, but enjoy the sport. Enjoy it. So when you set up right. Set up right from the beginning, and that way it will allow people to grow into this. So before we hand it off, I think we're going to hand it off to talk about the importance of life jackets. To me, is your number one piece of equipment you need to have. We're going to just go through real quick. There's a checklist for fishing. You're getting the fishing kayaks. Callie has it here. And then we'll hand it off, and there's no questions. We'll hand it off. We'll start here.
Running down the list, we've got a neat list here of fishing, recreational, touring. What are our suggested items for you to, again, there's that checklist talking about. At the top of that list, across the board, is your PFD, which stands for Personal Flotation Device, and your life jacket. Number one item, wear it. Thank you for going for having that logo up there. Wear it. On the list, paddle, water shoes, transport and storage. You covered quite a bit of that. Tie-down straps, covered that as well. Rod holders, while those are mounted onto these kayaks, you can buy the separate accessories as well. Again, you mentioned whether we have fly rods, spinning rod, bait caster, different options out there for you that fit exactly what you're looking for. Rod leashes, pointed that out down here as well. Secure your items. You don't want to lose it. Again, that's spending a lot of money for those items. Anchor line. Anchors are something we do carry here in store. Various options for those, whether it is the dumbbell style, or not dumbbell, the kettlebell style anchor or chains. Many different options for the waterway you are paddling. Definitely look at that, and there'll be a good, better, best option for the anchor style. Dry bag or box. Secure your valuables. Have a first aid kit. Have a whistle attached to you. That's all a lot of safety items that we'll be coming up and talking about to cover as well. Kayak cart, multi-tool or knife. River knife. Some of those can attach to your life jacket. Some of those you can keep in pocket or your tackle and gear storage options or solutions that you have. Definitely some knife to back up for things for sure. Your emergency kit, as mentioned, with some safety safety flag if you're paddling early mornings, late at night, lights, being visible. A lot of folks that like to fish get into kind of darker kayaks, some that are camouflage, and you can kind of selfie stuff on your hunt for the day. Then there's options that are pretty bright, like the one behind me there, and I'm going to go wrong direction there. Color doesn't matter too much when it comes to your fishing kayak, really. It's what's comfortable for you. Fish don't carry the way too awful much on moving water streams. What color your kayak is, so get something that fits your needs. Dressing appropriately, dress for immersion, check the weather for the day, and then last on the list was an item called 303 Protectant. Take care of your gear and equipment, clean it off, keep it in perfect condition, again, so it's around for as long as you need it. We will take a moment here to allow any questions to come through. Andrew, I think we covered our bases there. If you have any questions, send them our way.
I just want to thank you guys for going through all that. That was a lot of information. There's a lot to this sport, but it's all kind of rolls together once you get used to it. I did have the question, you covered weight, but what about height? Like, say you're a taller person, which style would probably be better suited for you? Between like a sit-on or a sit-in?
So,
or does it really matter? That's my question. I mean, I'm 5'10", so I'm pretty average, but I'm thinking like 6'4" and up. You know, somebody who's taller, would that make a difference? Did y'all get that?
I can catch every other word. If you want to type those to us in the chat after you ask the question, something along the lines of sit on top, sit inside.
What about height? How does height affect the boat you play? Person's height.
I can, absolutely. So when choosing that and the height of the paddler, again, that comes into that weight capacity. If you're looking at a pedal drive kayak, pedal option, again, you're really going to want to sit in that kayak. Does the seat adjust back enough for your leg? Or is it too far back? We've seen both ends of that spectrum from what we carry. We by no means carry all kayak brands, models, and gear here. There are so many awesome selections out there. We just like to have some options here for you to see. So I have seen, unfortunately, folks that are on the shorter end of that spectrum as well, not be able to reach the foot pegs, not be able to reach the pedals of a kayak. So that all comes into getting it, trying it before you buy it, sit in that kayak. So your height does affect that in a way. That can affect how comfortable you are with how your knees or your legs sit in the kayak as well, and the spacing you have. So ultimately, when it comes down to, are you on the taller or shorter end of that spectrum, sit in the kayak.
Thanks, guys. Doesn't look like there's any other questions, so you guys just hang out to the end. If something pops up, we'll come back to you. Thank you, guys. Okay. So now we're going to move on to Marcus Bowling, who is the boater education specialist with the department, that's what we'll call him. So Marcus, take it away.
All right, I'll start off by introducing myself. My name's Marcus Bowling. I've been a conservation officer in the state of Kentucky for going on 22 plus years now. My current role is the boating education coordinator for the state. And Kaylee and Chris introduced a whole lot of information to you. And I'm going to talk to you some about boat safety, because whether you're in a motorboat, a canoe, a kayak, or whatever, we have to practice safety. Safety always comes first. And they alluded to the fact that when you have to register a kayak, I was going to kind of goof on you all and ask you all the question, do you think that you ever have to register your kayak with the state of Kentucky? But they already alluded to it, and the answer is yes. If you're running a trolling motor or a mechanized motor on there, you have to have it registered in the state of Kentucky. Using your paddles and oars and your foot pedals, you do not have to. But if you put a trolling motor on there, you do. Another important thing I want to talk to you all about is something called a float plan. It's something that you should get in the habit of doing. Everything with safety is a habit, but the float plan basically is you just basically tell somebody where you're going. It's basically the 4 W's: the who, what, when, and where. Because if something happens to you and there's an emergency on the water, the first thing that we're going to do, or search and rescue is going to do, is ask those questions to somebody. We're going to say, well, who are they with? Where did they go? When did they go? And what time do they think they're coming back? So just get in a habit of letting somebody know in your family or a close friend, say, hey, me and a couple of friends, and give them their names and their cell phone numbers is a great thing to do. Tell them where you're going to, where you plan on launching from, what you're driving. So I'll know that if I'm looking for a black Dodge pickup truck, and where you're going to be at so we can start looking. And what time you're coming back. You know, if you say you're not going to be back till 11 o'clock at night, well, probably midnight, nobody's going to get worried. But at 2 o'clock, people may start asking questions. So get in a habit of leaving a float plan or telling somebody who you're with, where you're going, and what time you're coming back. It's just a good thing to do. The most important thing, which Kelly and Chris alluded to earlier, is your life jacket. Your life jacket is your first line of safety when you're boating. I consider it to be like your seatbelt in a car. As we both know, when you get in a kayak or you get in a canoe or a motorboat, you don't have a seatbelt. And this is also just the same thing, like a habit. When you get in your kayak, you need to be in the habit of putting your life jacket on and keeping it on, because when an emergency happens, that's going to be the first thing that protects you. So we always need to do that every time. And when you do it, you'll eventually get to where you do it. I imagine if you talk to Kelly or Chris, they'll tell you that they do it and they don't even think about it. I do it and I don't even think about it because I've done it so much. There's 3 or 4 things that make your life jacket legal. The biggest and most important thing is that it has to be Coast Guard approved. If you look at any life jacket, either in the packaging or on the inside of it, there's going to be a label, and you will see the words Coast Guard approved. That is the very first thing that you have to make it legal. The next thing is it needs to be made to fit you. Basically saying if you're an adult, you can't pick up a child's life jacket and say, hey, this is my life jacket. That doesn't work. Inside that label, usually it's rated for weight, and it'll tell you like for an adult or for a youth or for a child. So make sure your life jacket fits. And then when you do get your life jacket, that is your life jacket. That needs to stay with you like it's your property. And it needs to be fitted and adjusted for you. So when you go get on your kayak or you go get on the boat, it's automatically ready to go and buckle and zipped, and you don't have to cinch it down. So Coast Guard approved, has to fit you. And the third thing is readily accessible. And in the kayak, that's going to be a little easier because your kayak, everything is right there with you. But in a bigger boat, you need to be able to get to your life jacket in a hurry. It doesn't need to be up under something, stuffed in a storage bin, or in the package that you bought it in. It needs to be where you can put your hand on it and use it. The kayak, like I said, you have all your stuff there with you, and you really need to wear it the whole time you're kayaking. If you're kayaking, you need to familiarize yourself, or if you're doing anything new for the first time, you need to familiarize yourself with that. A kayak doesn't look like much, but if you get on the river with the current and low head dams and the brush and debris in the water, you can get into a lot of situations that are not too fun, and you need to know how to handle them. So I'd say always go with somebody. If you're first starting out, go with somebody that's very knowledgeable of it, that can show you some of the ins and outs. Most definitely, you need to be familiarized with how to get yourself back in a kayak if it flips over on you. You don't want the first time you do that to be in a dangerous situation. You want to know how to get back on it as quick and in a hurry as possible. And educate yourself. Even what y'all are doing today with this show is education. The more you educate yourself about a subject, the more knowledgeable you are, and the more knowledgeable you are, means you're going to be safer on the water. You can go to fw.ky.gov, which is our website, and we've got some things on paddleboarding and kayaking and different things that you can educate yourself with. But life jackets, to me, is the number one thing. That is the one I drive home to anybody. Wear it, as you see my logo behind me. Wear it at all times. It's going to save your life, and it needs to be functioning. If your zippers are broke or your buckles don't work or the stuffing's starting to come out of them, then it's not going to serve any function to you. If you're canoeing or kayaking, you may have a square cushion that they call a PFD. It's a type 4 throwable device. Just be aware, if you do have that in there, that does not qualify as a life jacket for you. That is a throwable device. Yes, it's a personal flotation device, but it's not to be worn. So sometimes when I run across people canoeing, they'll have that and they'll hold that up. So just be aware that you have to have a life jacket that fits on you and not a type 4. Another thing I've got is a lot of people think it's fun to take a float trip and drink alcohol. I can tell you from years of experience that drinking alcohol and boating is just like drinking alcohol and driving. They don't mix. As a matter of fact, it's probably more dangerous when you're in a boat, just because of all the extra stressors you have on you from being out there in the weather and the waves and everything else. It compounds problems. So absolutely no drinking while you're out kayaking. It's not, I know it sounds fun and it may be fun, but it's not a good way to lose your life. The other thing is they talked about too, fishing by kayak is getting extremely popular. Just remember that if you're fishing, if you're 16 years or older, you have to have a fishing license. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Fishing license, 16 or older, life jacket, I'll say it 100 times to drive that home and wear it. If you put a trolling motor on your kayak, which you'll see some kayaks with trolling motors, need to have the boat registered. Another good thing that Kelly talked about too is a whistle. If you do get in a situation, you need to be able to alert somebody to your situation. So you can get any kind of whistle that makes a shrill sound and attach that to your life jacket. And in that way, you know your whistle is with you at all times. And it needs to be functioning. You may think it's a whistle and it may work, but every year or every time you go out, you need to check it to make sure it's working good. Any safety equipment needs to be inspected and checked every time to make sure that it's functioning. In the end, Fish and Wildlife, all we want is for you all to boat safe on the water and enjoy yourselves and take care of yourself and others out there. I talk probably pretty fast. I'll stay here and answer any questions anybody has. But that's just a general quick overview of some things to do to be safe on the water, especially while you're kayaking.
I do have a question about the types of life jackets. Now, there's the inflatable ones, which are the thinner versions, which more people might like. What should they know about those and how they operate?
Andrew's talking about a type 5 life jacket. They're auto inflates. Some of them you have to pull the string to manually inflate it, or it will auto inflate. For kayaking, I would rather go with a type 2 or 3. And the reason being is if you get in a pinch real quick and in a hurry, it's kind of like on a jet ski. It takes 15 to 30 seconds for an auto inflate to actually blow up to bring you to the surface. In an emergency, you may not want to have 15 or 30 seconds. So a type 2 or 3, in my opinion, is going to be safer while you're kayaking and canoeing. But a type 5 is auto inflate, and it's like Andrew said, it's nice because it doesn't take up much room. But it's got functions for it, and then other functions, like I said, for kayaking may be more important with a 2 or a 3.
So we only need to register the boat as long as it has a motor to propel it, correct?
Yes, and you'll get kind of caught up with that because like Callie and Chris were showing you with the pedals, that is mechanized, but we've deemed that to be okay and not have to have it registered. So only a trolling motor or other mechanized device.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Now, where can they find more info on what's required? Would that just be in the fishing guide, or where would you suggest to look for that stuff?
You can go to the Kentucky Fishing Boating Guide or go to our website at fw.ky.gov and go under boating and type in the search column boating checklist, and it'll be a list of things that you need to have to keep you legal in your boat.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus. If there's any other questions, give the chat a second, and if not, I think that's all we got. Yep, that's all we got.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Some final things to go over before we wrap up. Next week, we'll be meeting on Tuesday again for the second part of the series, which will cover how to plan your next float trip. So I assume a lot of the stuff that they all went over will come back up again. The department is also currently running a giveaway. Get to the right slide here for you guys. So this is a mentor program. So essentially, if you take someone new fishing who's never fished before, you can take their license number, go to the department's webpage, which we've mentioned is fw.ky.gov, go to your My Profile, and on the right side, you'll see a little tab for the kayak program. And you can enter that new person's license number and enter for a chance to win this $1,000 kayak prize package, which, you know, Callie and them, they know this boat. This is a nice boat, a good paddle, life jacket. You get the whole setup. You'll be ready to go out on the water. And the mentee who you took fishing will also get a rod and reel. So you can have as many entries as you want. So every new person you take who hasn't bought a license ever or within the last 3 years, that's another entry for the boat that you can get. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us here at the department and we'll get that all answered for you. So that's going to run through the end of the year pretty much. So, and that's all I have, everybody. We look forward to seeing y'all next week. If you have any questions, go on and ask now. We're here. And if you think of something later, just email me or call the department and we'll get your questions answered. Thank you guys for joining us.
How can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can ask right now.
I just got a kayak and I'm at Nolin, if you're
Mhm.
familiar with it, and the tailwaters.
Mhm.
I'm wanting to take the trip from the tailwaters to Brownsville.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that trip?
I have not. I don't know if Chris or Callie or Marcus have. You could probably do Google Earth and kind of see what it looks like. Now, if you find a local canoe shop like Canoe Kentucky in that area, they might know enough about it to kind of give you an idea of what you're dealing with and also the best way to check the flow rate for that area.
Yeah,
And-
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
We've got the pedal kayaks. I was wondering how deep it is and
Yeah.
get rapids or what.
I was going to say Lee McClellan, who we'll have on next week to plan the float trip, save
Yeah.
that question for him because he's gone everywhere. He travels out of state and everything too. So he'd be the guy to know to get the most info about that.
All right, cool. I'll be here then.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else? All righty. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to all my guests. See y'all next week at 6.